Hey everybody, this is episode 2 of the Going Yard podcast. Today we discuss not only the first week in baseball, but also our first week in the podcast world. We also have our very first special guest interview with former minor league pitcher of the St. Louis Cardinals, Kyle Hald. Also, if you go to our webpage, which can be found on any of our social media platforms, you'll find our patron and sponsorship tab. If you guys love what you're hearing so far and would like to contribute to the podcast, please click on that tab and check out the many levels of support that you can give. Any contributions at all are appreciated, and we thank you in advance. And as always, we hope you enjoy the show. Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming back. We appreciate everything you guys have done for us in the past week. Episode 1, it was our first try at all of this, and the feedback we've gotten from everybody has been amazing. We've just been blown away this entire week. What do you think, man?
It's been impressive. I mean, me and Dan had this idea a couple months ago, and we've been getting after it and grinding it 2, 3, 4 days a week, 4 or 5 hours a night. Just trying to come up with fresh ideas, working on the sound system, working on social media posts, working on setting up everything through iTunes and Google Play and SoundCloud and getting everything authenticated to try and bring you the best that we can bring you every week. And, you know, after last week's first episode posted, we've been talking back and forth all week and watching the downloads come in and go up, and all the reactions and responses on Facebook and Twitter has been a lot of fun. It's exciting. It just makes us want to jump in here and keep getting after it for everybody.
Yeah, we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot about who our listeners are. We've learned that we have more listeners in Pennsylvania than we do in Maryland, and Tyler's not happy about that.
Come on, Maryland! I need my Maryland fans to bring it on. Let's go.
Yeah, but we also learned a lot about ourselves in the way that we deliver what we do on here, and there might be some things that we want to change with it, but at the end of the day, we kind of just want to keep being ourselves. So, but we appreciate all the feedback we've received from everybody, and it's been a learning experience. Every single thing that we've tried, we failed the first couple times, and then we finally figured it out by looking at YouTube and all kinds of crap, and we bought equipment and then sent it back and bought other equipment and sold, so it's been fun. So
it's exciting. I mean, I tell you, this is Dan's the music guy. He's been behind the microphone. This is all kind of new to me. So I'm really learning this side of it as I go. I got a little bit of tech knowledge, enough to get in trouble, I guess, so to say, as a lot of people do with a lot of things out there in life. So, but I'll tell you, it's been a lot of fun. I'm real excited. I look forward to hearing your thoughts and what you have to say after you hear this episode and all that we're going to bring to you going forward.
Yeah, this episode, I think just right off the bat, it's going to be completely different than the first episode. We have our first interview today. We're really excited about that, and I think you guys are going to love what we talk about on there. But
and it ain't just predictions now. Now we got some real baseball to talk about. Some games have been completed.
That's right. So some real baseball, and it's been a crazy week. So we're actually going to, instead of taking too much time here in the beginning,
we don't have to talk about ourselves.
We don't have to talk about ourselves, but we want to go into our first segment. We're just going to call 3 Up, 3 Down, and what we talk about in this segment, we're just going to pick 3 teams that are, after the first week, we're just impressed with, that they're trending up currently. I know it's the first week of the season, and we got a lot of games to go, but there's certain things that you can kind of see in the beginning, and it's kind of like a chess game. So if we see it now, it could continue, or it could be fixed by management. And then we're going to also talk about the 3 teams that are trending down right now that we're either not surprised with, or we're like, whoa, what's going on?
I mean, baseball is a long season, you know what I mean? And it drags for some people, and they say, well, it's just one game. But, when your team misses the playoffs by one game, it comes back to bite you in the ass a little bit. And, this year's a little different. You always start with guys that are, on the DL at the beginning of the season. But, this year's a little different. You have some guys that are in the minors still getting loose and ready to stretch it out, and late contract signings. It's been a very unique offseason when it comes to the pitchers getting ready, especially those free agent pitchers. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
It's definitely an interesting dynamic for some of these major league teams that they're dealing with. So, but it's always how you improve from here. You know what I mean? You don't want to start off in the cellar, and you don't want to start with a 25 ERA like some pitchers do. You know what I mean? So it's one of those that now we got some real games to talk about, some real information. We'll just give some real quick observations here.
Yeah. Oh, let's start in the NL East. How about the Nats? I mean, they've had a decent start, 4-3. Just found out Mike Rizzo, he got his contract extension to 2020. What does that mean to you? I mean, do you think Harper's going to get a longer deal? What about Strasburg? I mean, now that they know he's going to be there.
I mean, Strasburg did just re-up a couple years ago for an extension. I mean, I know they have Scherzer under contract for a long while, but they do have Harper, who's a free agent at the end of the year, and who's the guy on the DL? Shit, I'm drawing a blank in my head.
Are you talking about Adam Eaton that just
No, Adam
hurt?
Eaton is who they acquired last year, infielder or whatever.
He just hurt his ankle. That's what I thought.
But I'll tell you, that's a guy that you talk about the 3-up. That guy coming back healthy for what they gave up. They gave a ton up to Chicago last year to get that guy, and then for him to go and get injured and be out the entire season, to bring him back and watch him come into the fold with what he's doing and what he's capable of. He's going to bring a different dynamic and really, really help that team this year.
Yeah, definitely. To go back to Harper real quick, how about his first 7 games, 4 home runs? He's killing the ball.
Did you hear see the video where the guy yelled overrate it?
Right before he swung it. Yeah, that was
how great is that?
Yeah, that was awesome. And actually at Brave Stadium, they actually had the Imperial March, the Star Wars tune. They had that when he was walking up to the plate. So I thought that was pretty fitting.
I'll tell you, the guy's motivated, which is scary.
Yeah.
He's put up huge numbers, huge stats over the course of his career when he's been healthy. That's been the key to him. Can he stay healthy? But when he's healthy, he's one of the best players in all of baseball.
I agree.
And now that he's playing for the rest of his life and his contract, watch out. This could get very, very interesting. I mean, who knows what numbers he's going to put up this year?
Yeah, and I think the pitching's pretty solid right now. Scherzer, he actually just accepted it finally as he got that Cy Young, 1.64 ERA, 17 strikeouts so far this season. So I think they're exactly where I knew they would be. But
yeah, I mean, him and Strasburg are a great 1-2 punch. You have Gio Gonzalez also in that rotation. They're very solid. They got a good ball club. You know what I mean? It's one of those that can the Mets keep up in a way. So, but they're definitely one of the teams on the way up.
Yeah.
We'll see where it goes. I think the rest of the division, like I said in our first podcast, is pretty weak. So there's no reason this team shouldn't reel off 90 wins this year just from the teams that they play off. And so we'll see where it's going. But I'll tell you, Dan, there's no team, I think, more loaded than the Houston Astros still. I mean, they just, I know
6-1.
They had a debacle trying to get the World Series banner displayed, but that is about the only hiccup I think they might have had so far at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Carlos Correa, he's batting .474, 2 home runs already, 8 RBIs. Altuve's killing it. His batting average .414. The pitching's looking stellar right now.
Garrett Cole, man, this is why they went out and gave up what they gave up to get this guy. This guy is legit talent. You put him on a team with this many superstars, with this much run support, with a veteran like Justin Verlander, Dallas Keuchel leading the way. You slide him into there, and the sky could be the limit for this guy. Who knows where his numbers are going to end up at the end of this year, but the way he's starting, Dan, whoa, goodness.
Yeah, and between Cole and Verlander, 25 strikeouts between the two of them already this season in the first week.
They're going to rack them up. Those guys are power pitchers. I mean, I think Correa came out of the game against Baltimore the other day after the first inning or something, tweaked his ankle or something like that. But I'm sure that's just a small little hiccup. Did you see the play Alex Bregman made? Looking like Manny Machado.
Yeah, how about that?
Wow, Alex Bregman, he's a superstar in the waiting. I'll tell you, if it weren't for Altuve and Correa and Springer and Verlander, all these guys that you're just going to reel off, this guy is probably one of the most underrated third basemen in all of baseball. Everybody knows Arenado, Machado, who just moved, Donaldson. Did you see him trying to throw the ball to first base?
You're talking about Donaldson?
Yes.
With the dead arm?
Oh, I mean,
that's
that
sad.
guy's in a contract year too. If that's what I hope he gets healthy for his own sake. So because he's way too talented to look like that. But
it's not affecting his bat, thank goodness, at the moment.
No, but this guy Bregman though, is right on those guys' heels, talent wise, and he's young, super young. He was a former shortstop who went over to third because of Correa. So the sky is the limit for that guy, I believe. He's one of those pieces that just, when he's in the middle of everything else, he could easily hit 300. Easily.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's go to the AL East. The Red Sox currently at 6-1. I know when we first, in the first episode, I was talking about the Yankees, and we were excited about the Yankees. After watching some games and watching some highlights from the Red Sox, damn.
I brought it up in the first episode about those pesky Red Sox. And you know what? I had to laugh because after I was thinking, and you don't believe the hype on the Yankees, and all I could think about, because Dan's such the Eagles fan, was when they signed Vince Young and all that. And he's like, we got the dream team. And how well did that work out?
Yeah.
And do I believe, like we said, the baseball's a long season, so I don't believe that, the Yankees struggling here just a little bit to put some wins on the column are going to be the rest of it. But this Red Sox team, 6-1, their rotation, it's solid. And like I brought up in the first one and in my prediction, this outfield is really good. They're going to carry this team, I think, offensively. You have Hanley Ramirez. If he can produce, then you're deep. This team could be very, very hard to put away.
Bogarts.
They're going to push. They're going to beat up on probably the Orioles and the Red Sox. I mean, on the Orioles and the Blue Jays and the Rays.
Yeah.
So they're going to be another team that just compiles wins. And, the Yankees better hope they stay healthy. Because if not, this team could just stockpile a bunch of wins.
And we're already seeing it in the first week with the injuries with the Yankees. So
poor Greg Bird, for all you Yankee fans out there. You thought this guy was the future first baseman, and he just can't stay healthy. He's got a ton of talent, a ton of upside, it seems like. But, man, it's just getting him. And their center fielder dinged up.
Yeah.
So who knows? It's one of those division races, though, that, no matter what happens right now, it's going to come down to a few games here or there, and they play each other so often. It's such a hated rivalry that it could get interesting. It could get very, very interesting. It'll be a lot of fun, though. I can't wait to tune into that first Yankees-Red Sox game, and David Price or Chris Sale takes the mound, and they got to go face Judge and Stanton and the rest of the crew.
Stanton's leading in striking out so far. The
Yankees were booing him already. Yeah, they were booing him already. How terrible is that? Yankees, come on now.
Yeah, what is this, Philadelphia? Which they're also doing some booing this week as well. But let's go to the 3 down here, which we won't be talking about the Phillies, but we're going to start with the Dodgers, 2-5. With Grandal, so far he's the one that's kind of leading the pack behind him and Bellinger in the batter's box. I mean, 350, 1 home run for Grandal, and Bellinger 240, 1 home run. But like Puig, he's batting 179 right now. Kershaw has yet to record a win. Is
it all his fault, though, you think?
No, I don't think so at all.
Poor guy ain't got much supporting cast when it comes to the offensive side.
Yeah, so that's kind of sad.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the Dodgers game the other night, and these guys are all or nothing swingers, though. You got Seager and Bellinger and Pender, center fielder Pedersen. These guys, they're in this launch angle era of sports. I get that's where the future of it is, but they're really just going for broke every time they get in the batter's box. And I get that, you get paid well when you hit the long ball, but man, when your offense is that anemic and you can't just do the simple things in the game, it's hard to watch. I mean, you can't. You live and die with the long ball, but you have to have a walk. You have to have a single.
Yeah.
I mean, most pitchers and most people you hear talk. The solo home run's not going to beat you,
right?
Generally, unless you're Kershaw.
Am I a dick in saying that I feel like that's how Puig has always been?
Yeah,
that's how I mean.
But it's wrong. Like these guys are going for the long ball all the time, but there's nobody on. So what the hell good is it if you just hit a solo home run? You got to get a walk, you got to get a base hit, you got to get a rally started somehow, and let those big hits come naturally. You can't force the long ball.
Yeah,
I'm sure this team will right the ship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it a World Series hangover? Possibly, you think? I mean,
Maybe.
it's a long season when you go that deep into, it's Game 7 of a World Series. I mean, that's grueling. Yeah, that adds a lot of extra baseball to the end of 162 games.
For sure. All right, we're going to go to the Cubs. Right now, they are 3-3. Right now, Zobrist is leading the pack with a 375 batting average, 6 hits. Bryant's up there at 346. He's got 9 hits, 1 home run. They have a lot of guys that are hitting, but they're getting on base, but they're not getting
scoring runs.
They're not scoring runs.
Yeah, and that's where you win. You know what I mean?
And I was looking at this: the top 3 pitchers, top 3 ERAs. Butler is 1.13, Chatwood 1.50, Hendricks 1.50. No wins between the 3 of them.
With those ERAs, that's
and
crazy to me.
And they each pitched 6 to 8 innings. And the
Chatwood
ERA,
better. They just paid him a bunch of money.
Yeah. But the ones that have the wins are the ones that went up in the innings. Their ERAs are higher. But it's just they're just performing on days, days, and not on the others.
The Cubs had they kind of. I brought up the Dodgers' hangover of the World Series because the Cubs seemed to have one of those last year, and then they kind of righted the ship and made a trade for a pitcher, and things seemed to get better. And Joe Madden, I have all the confidence in the world. I'm sure that everybody in Chicagoland does too. I mean, this guy gets it done. He's going to make adjustments.
I love him.
He's amazing. He's one of the best in the game. He's probably right behind Terry Francona, like I talked about. But he's going to get it right. These guys are too good to just be a 500 ball club like their record says right now. But from the start of what we all thought that that they would get rocking and rolling from the beginning, and they're not. So that's how they end up here. But I'll tell you, Dan, there's nobody I think struggling as much as I thought these Cleveland Indians would do. You know what I mean? This is a team I'm very high on that I think is loaded with talent. The city loves their team. They're diehard fans of the Cleveland Indians, and this team is too good to be where they're at right now, I think, in the start of this year. So, but I think they're going to figure it out as well.
And I read a stat, and I hope that the webpage I was on was just incorrect with the data, but the highest batting average is 192.
Below the Mendoza line.
Yeah, Alonso is leading the pack at 192 for the batting average. It's really sad.
Nelson Cruz had a 2-run homer off what's his name the other day, Kluber, and that was it. Poor guy pitched a gem, had one bad pitch really, and cost him a game. Their rotation is gonna get it right. I have no doubt. Once they hit their stride, I think the sky's the limit. But this team struggled to start, so they did have a tough series to get the year started. So, but no excuses in the game of baseball, right? You got to play everybody. Right. You got to play them when they're hot. You got to play them when they're cold. It's one of those that you got to figure it out. So, hopefully these 3 teams, and I think we're pretty high on all 3 of these teams. The Dodgers, Cubs, and Indians. I don't think there's any fear of them not getting to where we think they're going to get to. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking forward to this year. I've seen so many seasons start like this. You've seen it where, you've seen 5-6 losses in a row, and we're like, oh, the season's over, and all of a sudden they're a playoff contender, and it's just like you can't really judge by the first week, but like we said in the beginning, you can't judge, but these wins and losses are important in the very end. But it's going to be fun to see what does the management do. Like I said earlier with the chess game, what are they going to do to fix this?
Is it a guy they call up? Is it a trade they make? What part of their team do they think is going to make the difference to get them over that hump and get them rolling?
And week 1 could have solved the issue for the entire season. So just because this happened doesn't mean it's not going to turn around. So, so I'm still hopeful for them.
Yeah, we'll see, though. And somebody's going to end up on the list. We can't pick some of these teams just for it's not a surprise that some of the teams have started the way they did, I think, between some of their off-season moves. So these were the 3 teams on the down list, and we'll see every couple of weeks when we bring this segment back up who ends up on it and who ends off of it.
Yeah, we want to leave some room here on this podcast because earlier in the week we actually interviewed Kyle, who we talked about earlier. But we're going to interview him. This is our featured segment. We're going to call it The Call to the Bullpen. In our debut interview, we interviewed Kyle Hald, formerly of the St. Louis Cardinals organization, and we really hope you guys enjoy the interview because I think you really will. We take it from high school all the way to the minor leagues, and we learned a lot. So I hope you guys enjoy the interview. Hey, we are here on the line with Mr. Kyle Hald. Kyle was selected in the 18th round of the 2011 MLB draft by the St. Louis Cardinals. He was a starting pitcher during his 5-year career. Along the way, Kyle advanced all the way to the AAA Memphis Redbirds in the Pacific Coast League. Some of his stats include 37 wins, a 3.90 ERA, and 447 career strikeouts. Kyle, thanks for joining us, buddy. How you doing?
Doing good, man. No problem. Nice to talk to you guys.
Yeah, man. It's we were pumped as soon as you gave the thumbs up that you were good to go. We're so excited to talk to you. Now, for listeners, I've known Kyle for a couple years now. I know your story a little bit. I don't know all of it, so I'm partially excited because I get to hear a little bit more about your story. But what I'm really excited about is we're going to have, listening to this podcast, we're going to have high school players, we're going to have college baseball players, we're going to have coaches, we're going to have parents of players listening to this podcast. So what I'm excited about is they're going to hear something from your story that's going to help them, one, know what it takes to get to the next level, and two, know what to expect when they get there. And I kind of want to dig in deep, if you're okay with it, a little later in the podcast with what an actual day and week in the life of a minor league player looks like, because I don't think I'm alone when I say this. As a kid growing up, and even teenage years, you always think that if someone gets signed to the major leagues or the NFL, you think just because they got drafted, they're living this high life of, this rock star lifestyle where they're playing the game they love every single day. They're getting paid to do it. They're in beautiful stadiums. They're playing with their friends every single day, and they got thousands of people watching them, and they have that chance to make it to the big stage. And I feel like that's probably the rock star lifestyle, but maybe there's something that we don't know. And it's not necessarily to deter anybody from like chasing dreams or anything like that if it isn't all sunshine and rainbows. But it's kind of cool because we never hear about this part of the process. So I'm happy to have you on here, man.
No problem. I mean, you'll hear some crazy stuff in the next couple hours or how long it is. But yeah, no, I'm excited to do this, and hopefully, all the kids out there hear it, coaches kind of understand what goes on with the preparation, the dedication, all that stuff. So I'm excited for that.
Right on. Well, we're excited. We're going to dive into some questions here, if you're cool with that, man.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, cool.
Hey, Kyle, it's Tyler. It's a pleasure to get to talk to you on through the podcast here. I'm glad to have you aboard and be a part of it. It's real exciting to have you be our first special guest of the podcast. But I'm a high school baseball coach for the past several years, and I truly love the game at that level. I find that there's so many kids that, there's 2-3 superstars maybe on a team. There's that one kid in the area that's got a Division I scholarship or something like that. But there's so many kids just grinding, getting after it every day. I was hoping you could take me and Dan back, and even our listeners back to some of your high school days. And what positions did you play? Obviously, Dan brought up that you were a pitcher, but what other positions did you play in high school? And did you make the varsity team as a sophomore, as a freshman? And how did you feel when you got that call to finally put on that varsity uniform and play for your high school?
Definitely. I actually went to 2 high schools. So my first 2 years, I was at Hayfield Secondary School in Northern Virginia. I didn't make varsity until my junior year, end of my sophomore year when they made the regionals or district and all that. I just had to call up and sit my butt on the bench. But no, junior year was where I started on the varsity squad, and that then was the new school, the South County Secondary School. But back then, my freshman and sophomore year, I was probably 4 foot nothing, weighed nothing, probably threw 70 miles an hour, but I really liked the outfield. So I played right field. I wasn't one. They didn't put me on right field just because I wasn't that good. But
Did you have a good
no,
arm?
I
I mean,
enjoyed playing
did you always had a good arm? Is that why you were in right field?
It developed, but I always growing up had a decent arm, but not until my junior year where I hit my growth spurt and I got stronger in the weight room and all that, and that's when my arm really developed.
So through high school, do you believe that the weight room? Me and Dan were talking our first podcast about when we were in school, the bigger, faster, stronger era of things. Do you really think that helped get your velocity up and your power and your strength?
You know what? Back in that day, we really didn't use the weight room, which is
Okay.
really surprising now. Where you see it these days, it's you guys have a program, you have a set schedule, off season,
Right.
during season, all that. But a lot of it was my lower half, as in doing sprints, running, and then I kind of learned about the squats, all that stuff. But in the weight room, we really didn't do a lot when I was growing up, which I guess is a lot different now.
Right.
But a lot more conditioning and like arm band work and all that stuff.
So obviously you played, you were dedicated. What was it? Did you play travel baseball growing up? Did you play Babe Ruth or what's the big one I'm trying to think of in my head? Legion Ball. Legion Ball. That's what I was thinking of. What did you play outside of high school? What level of baseball did you get to outside of high school?
Yeah, I pretty much played everything I could. Little league, all that stuff. I never did Legion. I did a lot of travel ball. That was big, but back then where I lived at was travel baseball. And we had, we did a lot of tournaments, stuff like that.
Now they got that Virginia Sports Complex down there. It's huge, Kyle. It's huge.
It's crazy.
They have tournaments down there every weekend. College coaches are down there trying to, swarm on kids. It seems like.
What? I got a question.
Then you got.
Go ahead. No, go finish what you're saying.
No, I'm just saying. Even Georgia, that's a big one too. East Cobb.
Oh yeah, East Cobb's huge. You're right.
That's huge.
Nice. I'm curious now with Ohtani. So it's huge now. He just hit his first home run the other day, and a pitcher hitting home runs. I'm curious, how were you behind the plate? I mean, how were you in the batter's box? I guess I should say.
I was not a power hitter. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
No, I was a decent. I good contact. I was a contact hitter. I was line drive, but not really power. But I actually hit probably my high school days probably around the 400 batting average.
That's pretty good.
So were you what, fifth, sixth batter?
I was more of the 1-2.
Oh, okay.
Nice. Off. Yeah.
That's right, because you were 4'0" at me. Oh, nice.
And I wasn't fast either. So
I gotcha. So, okay. So through high school, like what made you decide to go to Old Dominion? Was that something where you scouted? Were there other colleges you wanted to go to? And was it a tough decision for you?
Growing up in high school, when they had the college baseball games on PS2 back then. I used to play for Rice and UNC. I always wanted to go to those type of schools, but never had anything. I had a couple small D3 schools that were looking at me, and then I got a phone call from Old Dominion. They had a tournament going on, a showcase tournament, and they invited me down there. So they took me around the campus, showed me all that. I participated in the tournament, and then when I got home, once we left, they called me up and said, "Hey, we want to offer you, you want to do this." And so I accepted. I really didn't have. Richmond was the only other D1 school that showed interest.
Mm-hmm.
And funny story, they even called me that night as well because I think they were going to make an offer. But I I'm already accepted.
You waited all that time and you got two offers in one day.
Wow.
Exactly. And Richmond, that's a little more money for the school. But no, I'm happy where I am.
What did you end up studying at Old Dominion? What was your major?
Oh, the easiest one ever, sports management.
There you go. I was wondering, because a lot of kids are hyper focused on something, and then those schools that they want to go to don't offer them nothing. So that's interesting.
Exactly. No, I was always interested into seeing what the ADs do and all behind facility management, all that stuff. It was interesting.
Nice.
I'll tell you that.
Nice. So, okay. So what about your time in college? Like, what were the high points with college baseball? Like, what was the hardest transition going from high school to college? Was it the workouts? Was it keeping the grades up? Was it, what part of it was the high points and what was the hardest for you?
is definitely the transition was definitely the balance between schoolwork and baseball.
Right.
Because we're on the field, we have workouts, and then we got to do, studies, and we had study hall as well. We had to go a certain amount of hours per week.
Hmm.
So you have a lot of time management. Is a big thing that you got to learn quickly. And you have morning workouts, and you got to go to class, and you go back to the field for workouts, and it's a lot of time management.
How important do you think something like that for high school students now, if they got a kind of a peek into that in high school, do you think that would help them so that they're ready for having morning practice? Because I know I had some morning practices when I was in high school, and getting to the weight room at 6 a.m. and I feel like if you didn't do that in high school, it would probably be really, really horrible when you're switching to college all of a sudden. But how important do you think that is to have that early?
Oh, it's huge, and I was lucky to have it in my junior and senior year. We had morning workouts, so you had to do the morning workout 5:30 in the morning, go to the high school,
Mm-hmm.
do your workout, go home, get ready to come back to school, and then go back home after school to go to practice. But it was good to do that then, to kind of transition to college. And another thing for college is you're on your own. You got to be accountable for yourself. It's a big responsibility coming living at your parents' house,
Right?
and then you're living in a dorm room, and you have no one looking over your shoulder. So
Yeah,
that's big too.
So what was your greatest memory of your high school? I mean, of your college time at Old Dominion? On the field exactly. You know what I mean? What was the biggest achievement that you felt there? Was it with your team, or individually, or both? I mean, can you share with us some of those accomplishments that you had?
I think the big one personally was being pitcher of the year my junior year in the CAA conference.
nice.
I won that award. That was pretty cool. I wish we went to more conference tournaments, but I think we only went to 2 when I was there. But yeah, that's probably my best memory there. Best accomplishment.
It's great. That's awesome.
All right. So let's move on to the time when you got the call. Okay. So as any kid in growing up playing baseball, that call has to be something special. You're drafted in the 18th round. Let us know about that call. How did you feel? Take us through it. And because I probably
where were you?
I probably would have
who
shit
was
my
with you?
pants. I don't know.
Yeah, it would have been crazy.
I'll tell you the full story. Don't worry.
Okay.
So actually, my parents and I and my uncle, we went up to LBI. Growing up, we used to go there every summer as a vacation. So we were on the beach.
Hold on, for anybody that doesn't know, what is LBI?
Long Beach Island. That's in northern Jersey.
Gotcha.
Come on, Dan, get it together.
Listen,
man.
I asked for everyone else and myself.
Yeah, that's where someone else lives that I'll talk to you that later.
Okay.
But yeah, so we were on the beach, watching the tracker. It was getting later, so we, decided to go home, to the hotel, shower up, and we were going to go to dinner. So we had the computer on the bed. I think I just got out of the shower. We're just looking, 16th round, 17th round. We're just all looking. And by the 18th round, I see my name pop up. Actually, my mom shouted something. I don't even remember what she said. But she saw the name, and we just started, get crazy, get loud. I guess people next door were kind of wondering what was going on. But you got champagne, some adult sodas. But no, it was good.
And for folks who don't know, the Major League Draft is 30 some rounds deep. So to go in the 18th round is not like
back then
this isn't.
It was up to 50. Back then.
I was about to say. I mean, so still, even to be picked that high, and for most people, they don't realize that a lot of guys get drafted out of high school and they never accept a contract. They go off on to college. So to be selected still that far up is such a tremendous. This isn't the NFL draft where there's 6 rounds and 3 days of hype. The Major League Draft is kind of done in the quiet. Now we have MLB Network that kind of gets a little excitement about it. But man, I can't imagine how your parents felt, how you felt, all those years of sweat and dirt and baseball pants and traveling from game to game, and you get that. That's so exciting and amazing to hear.
No, it was amazing. I give them all the credit for all what they went through with me growing up. All the travel, the money, all that stuff. It's amazing what they had to do for me. So
we're just
it was good
starting.
for them.
We're just starting. Well, Tyler more than me.
Ready.
Tyler's been used to it for a few years now, but with Olivia playing travel ball and my son just starting baseball, oh my gosh, I better just start saving now.
Oh yeah, no more vacations.
Lots of hotel rooms. Your vacations will revolve around the sport your child plays in.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Oh my goodness.
So when you got drafted, Kyle, what team were you first assigned to? What level of baseball did the Cardinals put you on when they picked you?
So the scout that drafted me, he called me, I would say about 20 minutes later after I saw my name. And he told me I was going to Johnson City, Tennessee.
There you go.
I was like, where the hell is that at?
Don't worry, you can say whatever you want. Don't worry about if you cuss or not.
I got you. So I would say about maybe 4 or 5 days later, we went down to Florida to the spring training facility. We had a couple workouts, got our physicals, all that stuff. And then they shipped us on a bus ride. I think it was probably 17 hours.
Wow.
Bus ride.
So I guess you were short season A-ball? Is that where a rookie ball? Is that
Short
where
season A-ball. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess that's where, most of because college, the MLB drafts in June, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so.
Yep.
Wow, that's a way to start the summer off, I guess, for you.
And
that was a good accomplishment, too. That was a good accomplishment. I think I forget my year, right? But it was a 1-something or something 2 maybe. I made the All-Star team for that as well. That was pretty cool.
Wow. All right. Now this is something I'm very interested in. We talked about it a little bit when I started my spiel here in this interview, but since many people don't know, can you just take us through a week in the life of a minor league pitcher, or just player in general? Is it sunshine and rainbows? Is it everything you had dreamed at first, or is there a lot more into it than you imagined?
Now, do you want the full details or kind of limited details?
No, you can. No, please give us the full details.
Give us the real story. The people want to hear. Everybody thinks that everybody turns into Bryce Harper on the fast track to the major leagues, and there's hundreds of thousands of guys out there grinding every day that never even get a chance. So for everybody who thinks that it's so beautiful and perfect out there, just give us the real feel of what it's like to grind every day and get after something that you love so much.
Yeah, don't hold back.
All right, I'll give you the Double-A story. That's probably the worst that it was.
All right.
So Double-A was in Springfield, Missouri. Small town. That was probably one of the best towns to play in. That was like, not to be mean, but that was pretty much what everyone did there was go to our games.
I'll say Midwest loves their baseball.
Small community. Oh, and they're big Cardinal. You know how the Cardinal fans are. They're probably the best in the league. So we had a good following, but let's say so wake up in the morning. Probably wake up around 9 or 10. Get a quick little shower in. I'll probably head to the field. Probably about noon.
So is this for a 7 o'clock game? For a 7 o'clock game?
This is 7 o'clock. Yeah, sorry, 7 o'clock game. And I'll go to an 11 o'clock game or a 1 o'clock game later.
Yeah.
This is for a 7 o'clock first pitch. So to save money, I went to the field really early so I can make a sandwich there. So to spend extra money. Do that. And then if I have a workout that day, I'd probably work out around 1:30-ish. Get my conditioning in. And then hang out a little in the field, maybe get something else to eat. And then probably around 3, we'll have batting practice. Or if they want to do drills or something, or like situational stuff.
So did you just shag fly balls during batting practice like a pitcher?
I was a fungo hitter.
Oh, you hit fungos. Okay.
Ooh, nice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll do that. That was probably getting me a little more excited than standing with my thumb in my butt in the outfield. But so I did that. So then we'd be done probably 4:35. Get something else to eat. And then it's time for game time. And that's 7 till whenever the game's done. Hopefully around 10 was lucky. Get whatever treatment we needed after the game. Go back home. That's probably 11:30 by the time we get home. Wake up, do it again.
Wow.
And what were your living conditions like, Kyle? Because I know there was a big thing going around and all this stuff. I mean, were you one of those guys living like 3-4 guys in a 1 bedroom or in a like apartment or a house?
Yeah, we had 4 and a 2-bedroom. I lived on a blow-up mattress in our living room to save money.
That's a life, man.
And I really didn't buy groceries. So I took whatever at the field, that night spread, took it home so I can have that for the next day.
It's worse than college living, you're saying, huh?
Oh my God. You don't even know. You don't even know.
Wow.
And then the fortunate days when we had our 11 o'clock school days when all the kids came and we listened to SpongeBob every game, that was pretty fun. All those screaming kids. Now, so, 11 o'clock game, we get there 8, after a 7 o'clock game, get done by 11, 12.
So would this be like a Sunday? Would this be like a Sunday after a Saturday night game? Is
usually Sundays. Usually Sundays. And
before a road trip?
Early in the season, they did a couple school days during the week where they brought the kids from the schools. And that was more at 11 o'clock. So we could fill by 8. And then, thankfully, there's no batting practice, so we had to get the other stuff done. So that wasn't fun. But and then the road trips were pretty special.
Yeah, how did you travel?
Yeah.
I mean, was it like a school bus, or was it a nice big motor coach
They
bus
were
that
better.
The big leagues get on?
It was better. No, I mean it was a coach bus, but nothing. Didn't really have Wi-Fi. Luckily, it had TVs that the coach picked out. The 1970s movies that no one wanted to watch.
Bull Durham on repeat.
Oh
The
yeah,
Natural was fantastic.
Yeah, so we go road trips right after games, and then we go right to the hotel. Twice during the year, we would have to go down to Midland, Frisco, that area, and that's like a 16, 17-hour days.
Wow.
Bus rides, and then we get 9 days, I think it was, the whole year of off days. So they would use our off days as our travel days. So we really didn't have a legit off day.
Right.
We would sit on the bus and drive during that day. So
jeez,
that was kind of tough.
Out of all the places that you visited, what was the spot where you can say this was the best place I've ever had to play?
I can't wait to get back there.
Yeah, I can't wait to. Yeah. Yeah.
Tulsa was fun. That was a good.
Tulsa
good
Waves.
area.
Tulsa Waves.
No, Drillers, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
I think
Sorry.
it's Drillers.
Forgive
They
me,
might
Tulsa.
change their name. They might. I'm not sure.
You're probably right. I'm way wrong, probably.
But they had a casino that was close by that we went to a couple times. But it was a nice stadium. You could walk to the field from the hotel, which is nice.
All right,
That
so
was probably the best place.
it's been a couple years. You know what I mean? So what in your mind do you think's changed in the game? Whether it be for the better or for the worse, the rules. I mean, what do you think about like instant replay and the pitch clock that they're doing to these minor league guys?
Yeah.
I know the minor leagues is like a hotbed for testing grounds. I mean, like as an outsider now looking back in, what do you think's better or worse about all these changes in the game?
I think it's worse what they're doing. It's kind of taken away from why baseball is so special.
Yeah.
Like now they're doing an extra innings to put a man on second base.
What is that? Is that not the craziest thing you ever heard? In
That's
your,
what I'm saying.
I'm blown
it is,
away. I
and
saw
you
that.
know.
I thought it was a joke. I thought it was an April Fool's joke in December when I read that. It was crazy.
It's like
unbelievable.
something you'd see in Little League.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's where they're getting the rule from.
Yeah.
That's an international like softball rule or something. I mean, that's where they're getting it from. It's crazy.
I don't want to hurt any feelings.
Exactly, and it just I don't like that at all. And then they did the pitch count.
Yeah, that's how
I kind of like that because no, I'm sorry. I kind of like that rule. I was a quick pitcher, so that didn't bother me. But there were some people that would take 30, 40 seconds in between each pitch, which would slow down the game a lot. So I don't mind that rule. But when they came up with the recent man on second, that kind of pissed me off a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and these batters, the batters try to kill a pitcher like you, the Mark Burleys of the world who want to pitch, 2 pitches every 25 seconds, start to catch it and ready to rock and roll and go. So, I was wondering how somebody like you felt about the pitch clock. I mean, I get the between the innings stuff, like hustle your ass on and off the field like you used to do when you were a little kid. You know what I mean?
Exactly,
Some of these major leaguers take, forever to get their stuff and get their hat on right and all that. So, I didn't see any problems with that. But some of this pitch clock stuff, and now they've even, altered the mound visits and stuff like that, which I get, some of that can be changed. And I mean, the catchers need to get on track with the signs with the pitchers. So it's interesting.
But that does change the game now.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Limiting the visits because if someone's having a tough inning and they're early in the game, you don't want to give up one of those 6 visits. And
Yeah,
that's the
that's a
big
good
thing
point.
is come out there and kind of calm them down, but you got to be strategic with that.
So you know, to me, Kyle, it seems like one of these, like they're trying to make these changes for a 162 game season that's broadcast on TV. But when you get into the thick of it in October in these game 5s and game 7s, and when the game matters the most, every one of those visits, every one of those seconds the pitcher gets on the mound, it's huge. It's crucial. I mean, you see how many of these games are so close. I mean, that's where I think that baseball might be losing a little bit of touch,
Yeah.
and they just call us purists. But I mean, I think they just forget how important it is to have all those little intricacies of the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely, I agree with that. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to them just doing this regular season and going back to, I know they probably would never do it, but going back to normal rules in the postseason, but that would never happen.
I can just see a couple years from now they're gonna have like lasers set up where how we
Oh,
see you know how we see the box for the strike zone. They're gonna have lasers set up so there's actually just a box and there's not gonna be any umpires behind the plate, and that's what we're
That
gonna
thing's
go.
bullshit too, though. I was watching some TV the other day, and they're showing Ks on the outside of the box, and I was like,
That doesn't make
"Are we
any
giving
sense.
2 baseballs on the corners?"
But you know what? You know what? That as dumb as some of these things that we're seeing right now, this is something like we laugh about it, but you never know. There's going to be probably lasers set up in the ground to shoot a stupid square for the strike zone. Some of these games we probably should use that, but
Definitely.
some of these calls are horrible. But yeah, it's insane where everything's going these days. So, but
No, I totally agree with you.
I everyone always wants to know. I think the very first thing I ever asked you, we were at a bar one day, and I think I asked you, I was like,
not a bar.
Come on.
We were at a bar? What?
Yeah, we may have been on the road
Is
somewhere.
he telling stories about you, Kyle?
Oh, hold on. Hold on. I got a funny story. This is great. So don't worry, this is not going to embarrass you. But so Kyle's not one that likes to talk about himself ever. He's one of the most modest people I've ever met. So
and Dan is not.
So
Dan
what
will talk about himself, right,
so,
Kyle?
So what I try to do is
he can.
yeah. So whatever I have the opportunity to have him talk about himself, I will take advantage of that. So we've shared many Uber rides. And so the first thing a driver will ask is,
how do you fit in a back seat, Kyle, with this guy?
Yeah, well,
I'm crossing the corner. Don't worry.
so the first thing a driver always asks is, what brings you guys to town? What do you do for a living? So we answer pretty quickly, but I always follow up almost immediately with, hey, Kyle, he pitched for the St. Louis Cardinals, and he loves that. No, he doesn't.
Every time.
Yeah,
every time.
I do it. It's like the icebreaker. The bartender's like, "What can I get you guys to drink? What brings you into town?" Like, Kyle pitched for the Cardinals.
I'll take a vodka tonic.
Over here, some pretzels.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. The question, I think the very first thing I asked you was like, who was your favorite strikeout? Who's someone that if you said a name that we'd be like, oh, damn. And also, I mean, this is the Going Yard podcast. So anybody memorable that you can think of that went yard off of you? And even if they weren't memorable.
Everybody.
All right, you start at the one that you'd rather never talk about ever again.
All right, I'll give you. I don't know. You probably know Marcell Ozuna.
Yep,
he's with the Cardinals now. He hit one over a building in left field when I was in High A in Palm Beach.
He was what, like 19 years old then?
Oh yeah, he was
just a kid.
It was crazy.
Oh,
and now he's with the Cardinals now, which is pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
I'll say him. Oh, and I don't know if he's Miguel Sano.
Yeah, he's huge. Goodness, how big was he back then?
Oh, my
was
God.
he still big?
He was my man crush. When I was
You heard it. You heard it here, guys.
You did. But we played him pretty much every year. He was unreal.
Wow.
But yeah, he was humongous back then too.
And what about your most memorable strikeout?
I'll give you an old vet, Rafael Furcal.
Oh wow, what was he on, a rehab assignment?
No, he tried to make a comeback.
Oh.
Probably was like I don't even know how old he was. It was probably 4 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, that's probably I'll throw that name out there.
What'd you throw him out with? What'd you strike him out on? What was the pitch? I know you got to remember it.
1-2 slider in the dirt, back foot.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Damn. So what were your top pitches? Was the slider?
I was more of my changeup was my second best. Fastball was always your top pitch. But changeup and slider, I would say.
What kind of changeup? Circle change or like a split change or
Circle change, yeah.
2-seam, 4-seam fastball? I mean, did you throw both being a
4-seam?
4-seam?
More 4-seam. I have natural movement.
Gotcha.
So, do you watch games now and know exactly what the pitcher's about to throw?
I can kind of tell in this situation. Yeah, I'm watching the Cardinal game right now, actually.
Nice.
What's the score?
Sucking, but 2-0 they're losing.
Oh,
But
damn them.
no, I kind of know in situations what they're gonna do. But yeah, it's funny because my wife, and whenever we watch baseball together, I'll say he's gonna throw this here and he doesn't. She's like, you're stupid.
Yeah.
I hate you.
I'm sure she says it more than just that.
So hold on.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Hold on. Dare I say it? So you're basically the Tony Romo in your living room every single time. Every time there's a game on.
He's the worst. He's the worst.
Oh man. I think he's exciting to listen to because he gets too excited. But it's weird though. He knows just about every single play that's about to happen.
He does. I'll give him that. But
yeah.
For those of out there who don't know you, Kyle, did you ever get the call up to the big leagues or no?
I did not.
Now, did you ever get invited to like big league camp or anything like that as a fill-in? As you made it up through the ranks of the minors. In one game.
I went to one game. That was in Lakeland, Florida. That was my first full spring training. That was pretty cool. Getting to meet all the guys. I think Jaime Garcia started that game, but hanging out with Jason Mont, who's probably the funniest guy I ever met. He's an awesome dude. But yeah, a lot of guys we met there. So it was pretty cool.
And so what's spring training really like? I mean, like for all of us who live up here in the north, we're like, hell yeah, baseball in February. You know what I mean? Obviously, as a pitcher, you've got to start your program. And, I'm sure your coaches probably set you on a track at some point and gave you an outline and a date of when to start doing this and that, right? I mean, but like when did you get started and really get ramped up to go to spring training? Was it December, January?
Yeah, our season would probably end by the end of September. So I'd take like a month off, just give my body a little break, and then I'd start. They give us, all-season packets, workouts, conditioning, throwing schedule. So I'll probably start that next month. I wouldn't start throwing until probably December-ish, maybe a little earlier than that.
So are you a big fan of giving your arm? This is a big thing, I think, for anybody, the kids that are out there listening or coaches. Like, are you a big fan of giving your arm like that just rest period and not throwing and just relaxing?
You have to. Until all the coaches stop overthrowing the kids.
Gotcha. Well, I mean,
seeing these kids throwing
have you
throwing 150 pitches a game?
Well, I don't know if you paid much attention, Kyle. It's actually been a big change in the high school rules of all these new pitch count rules, and if a kid throws 25 pitches, he needs a day's rest. It turned into like the little league rule almost. So it's definitely been a huge change. I was wondering. Good. I mean, I know because usually a lot of teams, years back, and coaches would throw a kid out there, and for a lot of people, don't really realize it. A lot of states, you could re-enter your pitcher back into a game. So these kids would go out and throw 4 innings. Yeah. They get a lead, and then the team comes back, and they go pull their shortstop and put him back on the mound to finish the game off, and he's done throwing 100, like Kyle said, 150 pitches. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's the only thing they like the high school and college sports. A lot of the coaches were there to win. Yeah. So they really didn't care about the player, but luckily I had good coaches. I could see it. No one really did that to me. Right. But I could see, other kids and all that. That's the only thing I really didn't like about.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because a lot of those players that maybe never got the chance to get as high into the into their career, past college. They may have had the majority of their pitches before they had a chance to really shine, like in the high school leagues.
And then seeing these kids throwing curveballs when they're 8 years old, that.
I actually saw right before my eyes. We were playing Montoursville because we were trying to go to Little League World Series, and
Dan was going to Williamsport.
Yeah, so we were in Montoursville. And Montoursville's right outside of. It's not too far away from Williamsport, actually. But we were playing. There was a kid that was pitching there, and he was just throwing junk all day, and we couldn't hit it. But his arm snapped while throwing a pitch, and it was the wildest thing we've ever seen. I never thought that it could happen, and I remember his arm just dangling. It was horrible. But yeah.
So you think that any pitcher can happen to any pitch, which is crazy.
Yeah.
How about
Yep.
Rick
Yeah.
Ankiel? How
But
about a
no,
story
that's-
like that? You know what I mean?
Oh,
Of the
yeah.
Cardinals,
Oh,
Rick
that's a big
Ankiel.
gift.
Wow.
Oof.
So, but no, I mean,
I mean, that's insane.
now, did you play the field or anything when you were in college, or were you just strictly at Old Dominion? Were you just strictly a pitcher? Because I know some of the guys
Just a pitcher.
just a pitcher. Because I know even some of the guys in college, you know, depending on where you're at, you're up, down as a fielder, you're pitching, you're getting loose, you're going back out defensively. I was just wondering if you had to experience any of that as a player or not.
I wish I played the outfield, but no, I wasn't. I was just a starter pitcher, and that's it.
Gotcha. Now, Kyle, you were talking about, you had some really good coaches, thankfully, that, monitored you guys, make sure you weren't throwing too many pitches. Who was the most influential coach or player you had along the way, whether it was a coach for you, a player on the same team, or maybe a player on the other team? Who was the guy? And if it's more than one, that's fine. Go ahead and give them a shout out. And what did they help you with the most?
Oh, I gotta get to my old man. That's my number one.
Nice.
Growing up, he taught me a lot. And all the hours he took, playing in the backyard, hitting ground balls, throwing up. He built a little mound up, a dirt mound. Did a lot of that. He spent a lot of time with me, and definitely he's number one. But I would say when I got to college, I would say I had a coach my junior and senior year. His name was Tim Levine. He taught me a lot about pitching. He was a former Yankee. I don't think he ever made it, but he was like AAA like I was.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know. But no, probably he had a lot of good details he told about me and kind of showed me what I was going to get into moving on to pro baseball.
Yeah.
What should I expect and all that. But yeah, I'll say him. But definitely my dad was my number one, no doubt, hands down.
Man, that's good to hear. Since we're on that topic here, who was your favorite baseball player? And it doesn't have to be a pitcher, but who was the guy that you idolized the most? For me, I'm wearing my hat backwards right now, and I've been doing it for years. Ken Griffey was definitely my top. So I'm just curious, who was your guy?
Growing up, it was Frank Thomas. I was a huge White Sox fan.
The Big Hurt, Big Hurt baseball.
Yeah,
Come on.
I think the big thing because he had the same birthday I did. I thought that was cool. When I was
that's
younger.
awesome.
And then I started watching him, and he just hit tank bomb after tank bomb. And then to follow the White Sox, Mark Burley, like Tyler mentioned, it was he's my guy. I have pictures in my basement of him.
Now, did you emulate his pickoff move? Because gosh, was that one of the best pickoff moves
I had a legit
baseball's ever
that's
seen.
I'll put one. I'll pat my back. I had one of the best pickoff moves, I think, personally.
Nice.
I picked up a lot of guys.
That's
and I had a
huge.
lot of box too, so
It comes with the territory, though, but it cuts the running game down for the most part, right?
Oh, it does. It definitely does, and that's a lot of people don't realize how crucial that is to slow down the running game.
I would honestly say in all of baseball, no matter what you're doing, whether it's hitting, whether it's running, trying to steal a base on a left-handed pitcher as a base runner it's harder than hitting a baseball. I mean, unless you're legit have top class speed. If you're just a normal guy, trying to steal a base on a left-handed pitcher is probably one of the most difficult things to read and understand and do.
Because basically I remember it to this day. There was a couple pitchers that you couldn't tell that if they were going to the plate or towards you until they were already throwing. It was like you can't decide. So you're leaning and you're leaning. You're like, oh no, oh he's coming. Yeah, so it looks like you're just hopping back and forth like an idiot.
And then the coach goes, "I gave it a steal sign.
Yeah,
I gave it a steal sign. Do you not see the signs?
Yeah.
Dan, come on."
Yeah, exactly.
It's probably the toughest, and it's even hard. It's hard throwing the bases too. As a pitcher, look at John Lester.
Oh man, how great is that to watch? Sometimes, I mean, you're a former pitcher.
Now he's down to the ball.
I'll say, what do you think of that?
First base, so it's all in his head, I think.
Just mental. It's so mental, right? I mean,
it's a lot of mental.
For you as a pitcher, I mean, is it? Do you truly feel that the game is more mental than it is? I mean, obviously your physical attributes are what you have and what you got to work with. But I mean, do you feel, mentally, like when you get on the mound that you know how you're going to attack this guy, you're going to attack this guy this way, that way, that way? I mean, is it really mental for you as a pitcher?
Oh, it's very mental. Think about it. You're warming up. You feel good. Let's say you're, in the bullpen for the game, hitting your spots, your curveballs breaking, it's change up chain, all that stuff. You get up the mound, you walk the first guy, next guy hits a base hit. and it's already first and third, no outs, and you're like, what the hell? You know, and your going, you know, your mind starts going. You think those negative thoughts, and then it happens. And I've realized that a lot. You got to be positive. You got to stay even keel. You cannot show or change your emotions depending on what's going on in the game. You got to stay level, and that's another talking about transition. That's a big thing. You got to keep even keel in your mind and stay positive.
And I almost feel like that's something you did in your professional life outside of baseball too. Like you're kind of the same guy there. Like you're one of those people that can kind of control your emotions and you know, so that probably is a nice transferable skill outside of baseball too. I mean, for anybody.
Yeah, that was going to be my one question. And we love this game, me and Dan do, and obviously you do, Kyle, and there's so many of us out there. Well, what is the one thing that playing the game of baseball through all your years, your youth, your high school, college, and even into your minor leagues, what's the one thing you take away from the game the most that applies to now your everyday life?
I would think being grateful for what I have, because you know, being home, I have a 2-year-old kid. You know, my lovely wife. You know, being home, working a steady job, making money, and not struggling, sleeping on a blow up bed, being away from my family for 6 months at a time. You know, I'm very grateful now. You know, so I would say that. I don't know if that answered the question, but
yeah, that was. I couldn't have thought of a better answer than that. Honestly, as we're both dads here, so I mean that's
it's tough when you're gone for 2-3 days sometimes, and you miss your kid's game, and you want to be there. It's very difficult. So you know, baseball's a humbling game, and you know, just when you think you got it all figured out, you'll get humbled real quick. So you know, I think that's outstanding to hear that.
Very true.
Well, do you have any plans to return to baseball at any level? I mean, even if it's, you know, coaching in high school, or I mean, or is there any type of? Do you have the itch? Or I know you have a young one at home.
I always do. I've done lessons, you know, here and there. I applied for the Phillies batting practice pitching job, but I guess they didn't want me. Didn't hear back from them.
Listen,
one of the kids, I don't know if you know the area at all or whatever, but Matt Hockenberry was a Southwestern kid here in Hanover, Pennsylvania. I think he just took over being a pitching coach for the Phillies single A or double A or something like that.
Oh, nice.
Just recently. Nice. Yeah, kind of interesting. Cool. For our local
that's
Hanover.
Another struggle too. Those coaches down there, that's another struggle too.
Yeah, I bet. I can't even imagine. So sorry to jump in there. I just didn't know if you knew of them.
No, you're fine. But yeah, no, I'll do lessons. But I'm kind of happy what I'm doing now, you know, with my job, and then whenever I have the opportunity to do, you know, lessons here and there. But you know, I always, you know, pay attention to what's going on in the baseball world and all that.
Yeah, keeping all your bridges clear from any type of issues down the road. You're having some nice contacts, I'm sure. You probably have some really good relationships you built since you were, you know, in the league for so long. So I'm sure that's probably a valuable asset to you.
Definitely.
Awesome.
So before we get you out of here and stop holding up all your time and everything, here's something like it's near and dear to my heart in a way. Everybody who listens to the podcast knows I've been youth coach. I've been coaching high school baseball for the past several years. It's been one of the greatest experiences. I've said that for a long time I've probably enjoyed coaching the game more than I ever did playing it, looking back at it. Just because when you teach a kid to do something and, you know, they go out and they accomplish it on the field, it's really remarkable. It's impressive to watch kids grow up on the field. Like I have my son and his team. A lot of the kids that I've known for, you know, 7, 8, 10 years now. So if you could give one piece of advice back to a high school kid or a young, you know, kid coming up, what would that be from your side of it, from all of your experiences?
Definitely work hard, but I know it's cliche, but put your studies first. Make sure you get that degree because you never know what will happen. Get hurt, whatever, but definitely school needs to be first, unless you're a high schooler and you're first round pick and they offer you $1.2 million time, but that's a little different. But definitely I would focus on studies. That's why I'm thankful I finished my degree. So.
All right. Well, you heard it, kids.
Take this man's advice, kids.
Don't do drugs. Don't do drugs.
Take this man's advice.
All right. So we got 2 more questions here. the last question we're going to hold off just because it's something we're going to ask going forward to every single person that we interview on this show. So you're lucky enough to be the first person to ask that last question too. But the second to last question is going to be our wild card question. Now, every week we're going to ask someone to submit a wild card question, whether it's to us, whether it's to our guest, and it could be anybody, and we're going to pick one from the group, and we're going to read it out loud, and we got to get your answer from it. So this one's coming from Facebook from Jimmy Crespo. Are you familiar with Jimmy?
Yeah, he was my manager for when I was at Old Dominion. He was our student manager, and
Graduate
we spent a lot of
assistant?
time together.
Nice.
What's that?
Was it a graduate assistant?
No, he was in school, but I guess he just helped out with the baseball team,
Okay.
doing the laundry and, hanging out with us.
He had
Really
a great
good
job then, poor guy.
Yeah. All right. So Jimmy, here's Jimmy's question. Sorry, Kyle.
Shout out to you, Jimmy.
So he wants to know, Kyle, when are you going to grow that crust stash again? For those of you not familiar with what I'm saying here, we're looking at a Topps baseball card right now.
And I don't think it's Photoshop.
No, it's not Photoshop. And
No,
Kyle,
that's all real.
Kyle has
real.
this amazing Doc Holliday looking mustache on him right now, or as Jimmy called it, the crush stash. So, any chances of growing that back?
I miss it. I mean, I have a decent one right now, but I got the beard to go with it. I'm afraid to.
Yeah.
I don't know. My daughter would look at me with just a mustache like that. But
well,
I don't know. Maybe.
I'm pretty sure your wife already gave the answer of what the answer to it was.
She answered for you, Kyle. She gave you the complete answer.
She's not a fan.
What'd you say?
She said no. It's not coming back.
Not surprised.
Oh man. So yeah, but it's fantastic, and if with your permission, can we post that? I mean, it's on the internet.
Oh, you go ahead.
Oh, we're gonna post that one. So
I don't care.
It's a beauty, people. I mean,
it is.
I think Dan would like to try and do something like this with himself.
See, and you have that gap in between. Did you shave that in the middle there?
Oh no,
it's natural. Really?
It's all natural. I'm telling you, it's all natural.
Yeah, and you look like Doc Holliday with that.
That
thing.
is intimidating.
Yeah. All right. Well. Hey, thanks, Jimmy, for the question. We got one last question for you, and this is what we're going to ask to every single person that comes on as a guest on the show. If you had one more start with Major League Baseball, what would your walkout song be to the mound?
Oh, every pro baseball game I pitched, it was "This Is How We Do It" by Montell Jordan.
This is how we do it. That one?
Exactly.
Oh my god,
that is a great one.
I don't know why. I don't know how I picked it or why. I don't know, but it just came to my mind, and it just sounded good warming up too.
Well, listen, that song. I mean, the reason why I just blurted it out there is because that's what that song does to you.
Yeah, get you going.
You can't hear that song and not
even when it's not Friday night.
Exactly.
Any night.
And I was rapping on the down, warming up, singing it.
Oh my god,
that is awesome. That is awesome.
Oh, man.
The joys of the game.
Gosh.
Oh, it's the best.
Hey, Kyle, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come on here and talk to us and talk to our listeners and sharing some of your story and all that you've accomplished and all you've went through. I hope that the people take as much from it as I have.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kyle, before we let you go here, can you is there anything you want to plug? Your Twitter page, anything like that anybody can follow?
I mean, they can follow me on Twitter. I don't really post a lot of things. I don't really have to plug anything.
Listen, a bunch
buy Pretzel Crisp. They're delicious pretzel snacks. They're affordable and they're good for you.
You heard it. You heard it here. Buy Pretzel Crisp. But he is at, what is it? It's Haldy at Haldy25.
Haldy, I believe so. I honestly don't even remember, but I think that's what it is.
Yeah, just look up Kyle Hald on Twitter and make him post more, please.
If anything, go to Google Images and look up this mustache.
That's probably better.
That's what you need to do.
Oh, man. Well, buddy, we appreciate having you on, you coming on and giving us, I mean, I got way more than I thought I was going to get, and it's fantastic. I learned so much, and I appreciate you taking this much time out for us, and we look forward to talking to you soon, man.
Hey, no problem. I enjoyed myself, and thank you guys for letting me be on there, and hopefully do it soon. Do it again soon.
Absolutely.
Hey, man, next time we get you to come on down the road here, and we can do it in studio.
Yeah, that's right. We'll have some.
I'm in. I'm in.
We'll have some Keystones waiting for you.
Classy. Keep it
right on ice,
classy,
baby.
We'll keep it classy.
All right, buddy. Well, you have yourself a good one.
All right, man. I'll talk to you guys.
All right, take care.
See ya.
This is how we do it. This is how we do it. La, 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 la.
Ooh, man, that's a goodie. That's a goodie.
Yeah.
Good pick, Kyle. Good pick,
Yeah,
man.
good pick, Kyle. Thanks for coming on, buddy. That was awesome. It was so much fun to do, and it's so easy. You had some great stories, but we hope you guys all enjoyed that interview. And but it's about all the time we have today. We kind of loaded up the episode with tons of content, and we don't want to overstay our welcome with you guys. So we hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was exciting to get back here with the episode 2. Looking forward to doing another episode with everyone. You know, as always, you can share this with your friends, your family, pass it along. Give us some feedback. Let us know what you think about Kyle, what he had to say. Hopefully, look forward to having him back on again down the road at some point, hopefully, and catching back up with him and, you know, and whatever he gets back into baseball-wise and all that.
Maybe even in studio.
In studio, hopefully, yeah, and that's next time.
Yeah. So, but you guys can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Going Yard Podcast and on Twitter at Going Yard and the number 2. You can also find Kyle Hald at Haldy25. Follow him. But until next time, I'm Dan.
And I'm Tyler. See ya.
Later.